Good evening. The Hammond City Council is now in session. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Carmen, roll call.
Markovich.
Here.
Spitali.
Here.
Venez. Here. Kowinski.
Here.
Ulacki.
Here.
Higgs. Emerson.
Here.
Hinojosa.
Here.
Opinker.
Here. Moving on to number 3, reading of minutes.
Mr. President,
Councilman Spitali.
motion to accept the minutes from September 9th, 2013.
Second. There's a motion by Councilman Spitali, second by Councilman Emerson to accept the minutes from last meeting. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes pass. Moving on, approval of claims.
Mr. Chairman,
Councilman Markovich.
move for approval of claims September 4th to September 18th for council meeting September 23rd. Beginnings with claims dated September 10th and ending with claims dated September 18th. Claim number 4414 through claim number 4688 for a total of $2,709,199.26. I so move.
Second.
There's a motion by Councilman Markovich, second by Councilman Higgs to accept the claims. Is there any discussion?
Mr. Chairman,
Councilman Markovich.
I have 2 more claims. One claim for $300 to the Hammond Innovation Center. Monetary donation for $300 from the Hammond City Council. Claim number 4690 to Advanced Turf Solutions. It's for industrial weed killer for $896.69. That is claim number 4690. And the Hammond Innovation Center was claim number 4689. I so move. Second.
There's a motion by Councilman Markovich, second by Councilman Hinojosa on adding the 2 claims. Is there any discussion? Carmen, roll call vote.
Markovich.
Yes.
Spitali.
Yes.
Venez.
yes,
Kowinski.
Yes.
Ulacki.
Yes.
Higgs.
Yes.
Emerson.
Yes.
Hinojosa.
Yes.
Opinker.
Yes. Amended claims passed 9-0. Now the claims as written.
Markovich.
Yes.
Spitali.
Yes.
Venez.
yes,
Kowinski.
Yes.
Ulacki.
Yes.
Higgs.
Yes.
Emerson.
Yes.
Hinojosa.
Yes.
Opinker.
Yes. Claims passed 9-0. Moving on, now the public hearing is now open. We're going to do all 5 of these together. 1333, which is 2014 Civil City Budget Proposal. 1334, amended the salary ordinance for the Hammond City Court as it relates to court employees. 1335, appropriation money from the Clerk's Perpetuation Fund. 1335, 2014 redevelopment budget. 1339, and 2014 sanitary district budget. 1340. Anyone who would like to speak on them 5 issues, please come to the mic. State your name, address.
Alvin Cheeks, 832 Merrill Street. I didn't get a chance to come out Saturday, but I have been attending city council meetings for 27 years. The first time is on a Saturday. I didn't get an opportunity to make it, but I think that's a great idea, the meetings. Consolidating the street department and that kind of thing, I think is a great idea. I think that we need to consolidate a lot more departments in the city of Hammond to make it grow in a lot better way. In terms of the sanitary district, I'd just like to see more Hammond residents working on that construction project. And that's it for today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cheeks. Anyone else like to speak at the public hearing? Anyone else like to speak at the public hearing? else like to speak public hearing? Hearing none, seeing none, public hearing is now closed. Moving on to number 6, communications. Any communications?
Mr. President,
Councilman Higgs.
just would like to read a letter in regards to Department of Planning and Development that was submitted to me. In response to a letter dated August 14th, I have contacted Mr. Cousteau to discuss potential meeting dates. Your letter stated that Food for Less would like to construct a fuel station at the 165th Street location. I spoke to Brian Pullard, Director of Planning, and Stan Destani, Director of City Engineering, regarding the history of this request. I have outlined some of the previous issues regarding the purpose of the fueling station. The purpose was a 5-pump island station to pay for a Kisco in the southwest corner of the Food for Less parking lot, a fueling station with approximately 247x125. 1, the station located would occupy approximately 1/4 of the parking lot in front of the store. 2, there were several reasons to the site plan that attempted to address the concerns of Dennis Cobb's review. Initially, there were questions about fuel tank removements in and out of the site in close proximity of the intersection of the North Excess Drive, the EW Drive south of 165th Street. The requirements stating that the fuel pump did not comply with the Board of Works requirements. 3, the city requested the station is relocated to the northwest corner of the parking lot away from the main intersection. Food for Less did not change the location. 4, the fueling station required redevelopment approval, and it is in a redevelopment area. 5, the fueling station required a conditional use from the Board of Zoning Appeals. 6, the city is willing to work with Food for Less to obtain a variance to the number of parking spaces to accommodate the station that otherwise met the requirements. 7, as a part of the variance process, the city expected the site to be brought into the compliance with the landscaping requirements. Parking space that approach into the access drive and off property had to be addressed. The parking space did not meet the size requirements and was not previous variance on record. During the meeting, Mr. Cusco, I will require if Food for Less would like to maintain and amend their previous submitted proposal, I will provide an update of the intentions after our meeting. Respectfully, Africa K. Talbot, Director of Economic Development, Department of Planning and Development of the City of Hammond.
Any other communications?
Mr. President,
Councilwoman Vines.
I'd like to ask Councilman Higgs for a copy of that letter, please.
Councilman Higgs, could you see that?
After the meeting, I'll get a copy.
Thank you.
Or should
Thank
I
you.
just request it from Africa, one or the other.
Is after the meeting, all right, Councilwoman Vines?
Pardon me?
Is after the meeting fine? Okay, any other communications?
Mr. President,
Councilman Hinojosa.
got a communication from Local 1010. East Chicago will be moving to the old library on Grand Avenue. The ribbon cutting is at 10 o'clock in the morning, September 27th. It's coming Friday. And also have another one from the Hammond Fire Department Fire Prevention Open House. It'll be at the Central Station on Saturday, August 5th from 10 to 2. And they'll have a lot of stuff for the kids there, and also a raffle for free smoke detectors. And the HCC, Hammond Hispanic Community Council celebrated their 20 years, and they will be having their function on October 3rd at the Gene Shepherd Center. That'll be in the evening. Don't have the time. Do you?
Is that actually, that's Saturday, October 5th.
Oh, October 5th.
From 10 to 2.
10 to 2.
Right.
Councilman, that Local 1010 deal, is that open to the public?
Yes, it'll be, the ribbon cutting will be outside, so yeah, it will be open to the public.
Any other communications?
Mr. President,
Councilman Higgs.
just wanted to personally thank the firefighters for inviting me, Local 556, to their annual picnic, which was held on yesterday. Really a nice event, and I really appreciate them sending me a correspondence in regards to that.
Any other communications?
Mr. President.
Councilwoman Vaz.
Yes, the Eastside Community Council, in partnership with Edison Community Watch and Home Depot, will be sponsoring a trunk or treat on Saturday, October 26th at Home Depot on 165th from 6 to 8 p.m. Bring out the children if you are interested in decorating your trunk to pass out treats to the kids. Please feel free to join. Thank you.
Any other communications?
Mr. President,
Councilman Higgs.
so I'd like to acknowledge the appointments to the Common Council, to the board and commissioners, because for some reason I seem to think that we're getting slid with people being appointed to different boards. So here's for the Board of Zoning and Appeals. Hargrove is a 4-year beginning 1/3/12. Economic Development Commissioner Yarbrough expired 12/31/2012. Hammond Redevelopment Commission Pesley and Byrick's 1/12/13 to 12/31/13. Lake County Solid Waste Management District, Opinker, no fixed terms. Port Authority, Kamarzinski and Pobalala, 4 years, expired February 2015, February 2017. Public Library, Jana, expires 9/11/2017. Urban Academy, Benez, 1/12/12/21/2014. Urban Enterprise Association, McLaughlin, Higgs, and Hackett, expires 12/31/2012. Visitors Bureau, Ray Garcia, expires 6/30/16.
Any other?
Mr. President.
Councilwoman Vaz.
I would like to make one correction on that. I can't remember which board is it, something development, economic development, Belia Ybarra. We did renew her, her term last year, and it does expire at the end of this year.
Any other communications? Any other communications? Communications is now closed. Moving on to committee reports. We have any committee reports?
Mr. President,
Councilwoman Vaz.
council as a whole will bring out 1334.
Any other committee reports?
Mr. President,
Councilman Spitali.
financing will bring out 1341 and 1342.
Any other committee reports?
Chairman,
Councilman Kolinsky.
council as a whole will bring out 13-29.
Any other committee reports? Mr. President,
Councilman Higgs.
Council as a whole is going to bring out 1330-5.
Any other committee reports?
Mr. President.
Councilman Hinojosa.
Yeah, I still have here, I think Councilman Higgs at 35, also 39 and 40.
Any other committee reports? Should be one more.
Mr. Chairman,
Councilman Kolinsky.
1329 is actually under new and unfinished, so it doesn't need to come out here then.
Got that, Carmen? Any other committee reports? There's one more. I believe there's one more committee report.
Which one?
1340?
1333.
1333. Mr. President,
Councilman Higgs.
also like to bring out 1333.
I thought we had final passage on that on the 28th, is that correct?
Right, but you still need to go to 30,
Haven't heard.
34. Hey, I don't know, the sponsor should be prepared to handle these. I didn't sponsor it. 13.
What was that?
34, not 1333. Where's the sponsors at? They sponsored it, they should be prepared.
Yeah, that will be passed in October, right.
Yeah, but it still has a sponsor. Okay, but here's the budget.
Yeah, 39 and 40. Yeah. Carmen, that should be 13, 13, 34, 35, 39, 40, 41, 42.
Mr. President, what's the numbers again?
13, 34, 35, 39, 40, 41, 42. And then 1329 will be, it'll come out during new and unfinished business.
First and second, no, let's go on, state the first and second reading. First and second reading, and final approval on October 29th.
Okay. That concludes committee reports. Committee reports is now closed. Number 8, ordinance, third and final reading.
$13.34, an ordinance to amend ordinance number 9182, also known as the salary ordinance for the Hammond City Court as it relates to court employees.
Mr. President,
Councilwoman Vines.
I move for final passage of 1334.
Second.
Second.
It's a motion by Councilwoman Vines, second by Councilman Spitali for third and final passage of 1334. Is there any discussion?
Mr. President,
Councilwoman Vines.
this is for the retired graffiti removal coordinator who was replaced. The original salary was $36,727, and it was reduced to $32,772. Also, a bailiff was increased from $28,000 to $28,532 to $32,772. The bailiff is married to someone who is in the court, so we're actually saving money by combining the benefits, 2 employees for only 1 benefit.
Any other discussion? Carmen, roll call vote.
Markovich,
Yes.
Spitali,
Yes.
Vines,
Yes.
Kalwinski,
Yes.
Ulaki,
Yes.
Higgs,
Yes.
Emerson,
Yes.
Hinojosa,
Yes.
Opinker.
Yes, ordinance 1334 passes 9-0.
What am I going to talk about all day long?
1335, an ordinance, excuse me, an ordinance appropriating money from the clerk's perpetuation fund.
Mr. President,
Councilman Higgs.
I move for third and final reading of 13-35. I so move.
Second.
It's a motion by Councilman Higgs, second by Councilman Hinojosa for final passage of 1335. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Carmen, roll call vote on 1335.
Markovich.
Yes.
Spitali,
Yes.
Vines,
Yes.
Kalwinski. Ulaki,
Yes.
Higgs,
Yes.
Emerson,
Yes.
Hinojosa,
Yes.
Opinker.
Yes, ordinance 1335 passes 9-0.
$1339 is the 2014 redevelopment budget.
Mr. President,
Councilman Hinojosa.
I move for final passage of 13-39.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Hinojosa, second by Councilman Spitali for third and final passage of 1339. Is there any discussion? Any discussion on
President.
1339? Councilman Higgs.
Just like a brief description of the department heads for that department outlined in that. If the clerk could read off their positions.
Redevelopment manager here. Mr. Chairman,
Councilman Markovich.
I guess what he's referring to on 1339 is page 1. It says Business Development Planner, Commissioner, Director of Planning. I think that's what Councilman Higgs is asking for. As far as, we have titles here, but no names. I think that's what he's at. Who is in charge of redevelopment? I guess this is the redevelopment budget. Who is that person? Is that Phil Talon?
I believe it is.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I believe city ordinance says that when a budget is being passed for third and final passage, that the department head is supposed to be here to answer any and all questions when that budget is being passed. Be that as it may, is the fact that the redevelopment planner is not here. I believe this budget cannot be passed tonight until the redevelopment manager is here present to answer any and all questions. So I would make a motion that this budget be tabled.
Second.
It's a motion by Councilman Markovich, second by Councilman Higgs to table the motion
1339.
1339. Is there any discussion?
Mr. President,
Councilman Higgs.
in all due respect,
Mr. President, there's no discussion on a motion to table.
Yeah, you're right, Attorney Berger. Carmen, roll call vote on the table of 1339.
Markovich?
Yes.
Spitali?
No.
Vines?
No.
Kalwinski?
Violating the ordinance.
Kalwinski? Yulaki?
No.
Higgs?
yes.
Emerson?
No.
Hinojosa?
No.
Opinker?
No. Table of 1339 fails, 7-2.
Mr. Chairman,
Councilman Markovich.
we have an ordinance that says that an ordinance cannot be passed on third and final passage unless the department is there. Why this council has just voted now to violate one of our own ordinances is beyond me. So I don't know how we can take any further action on it. It's an ordinance that says it cannot be passed, but yet they all violated the city ordinance.
Mr. President,
Councilman Higgs.
Attorney Berger, as it relates to this particular ordinance, can you pull a copy out for my colleagues? No disrespect, but I mean, we have governing laws and we have to abide by, and the reality of it is if we're not going to follow the guidelines, why should we expect anybody else to do so? And make sure, Chassis from the Times, make sure you put that in the newspaper because that's very important as it relates to particular things that go on within the city. If we're not going to abide by our own rules, how can we expect the department's head to
Mr.
do
President.
such?
Councilwoman Vines.
Attorney Cantor is here. Can you answer that question for us?
Mr. President.
I asked
Order.
Attorney Berger.
Councilwoman Vines is
to
speaking.
answer the question.
Mr. President. Mr. President, can I have the
There's
floor?
something going on right now.
I understand, but
Councilman Higgs.
Mr. President, we're under discussion. Before you move on, it's Robert
Chris
Rules of
Cantor
Order.
has the podium.
All right. Mr. President, I've never seen an ordinance that says that every time a budget passes, every single department head must be here to witness its
I never
passing.
have either.
So if Mr. Markovich does have a copy of one, I'd love to see it. I'm not saying one doesn't exist, but I have never seen it, and I know we've passed budgets many times without every single city department head standing here watching it occur.
That's correct.
Mr. President.
Thank you.
Councilman Higgs.
Attorney Berger is actually our attorney. I know Attorney Cantor works for the city, but Attorney Berger is our attorney, and so we should be directing our questions to our own attorney versus the city's attorney.
Okay, Attorney Berger, do you have a copy of that ordinance?
I'm not familiar with that ordinance.
Thank you, Attorney Berger. That's all I need to know.
Mr. Chairman,
Councilman Markovich.
I would request that we refer this budget to new and unfinished business to have Mr. Bergerick have time to go ahead and research that ordinance.
Mr. President,
Councilwoman Vines.
we did have budget hearings on Saturday, and we discussed this. We discussed that planning is merging into this department.
That's correct,
I'm
Councilwoman Vines.
wondering what other information you need to know. If you want to know the people who are, the Director of Planning and Development, that's Phil Talon. Brian Poland was here earlier. He's the Director of Planning. I don't know. We know all of these people.
Mr. President,
Councilman Higgs.
I don't know who Councilwoman Vines is referring to in this, and I the one who posed the question because I wanted to know. So that was the purpose of that. There are some people I can identify on here and some I can't. So I wanted to be more clear. And out of all due respect, I feel as though any department head that has their budget approved should be before us. And we had budget hearings, true enough. But what is it going to hurt to spend 5 minutes in the council chambers the night that your budget is being approved? In reality, it's going to be a new year. And then if we have additional questions, we can pose those questions to those individuals and get some clarity as it relates to anything that may be related to their budget process. It's only fair and it's only right. Now, however you guys want to do it, it's fine with me. I'm only one of 9. I can only speak the truth and how I feel about it. If you guys want to do whatever you want to do, that's totally up to you. But I'm just saying, out of respect of all of us, they should be here. So if that's how you want to handle business, it's fine with me.
Discussion is now closed on 1339. Carmen, I'm calling for a roll call vote on 1339 on the budget.
Markovich.
No.
Spitali.
Yes.
Vines.
Yes.
Kalwinski.
Yes.
Ulaki.
Yes.
Higgs.
No.
Emerson.
Yes.
Hinojosa.
Yes.
Opinker.
Yes. Budget for 1339 passes 7-2.
1340 is the 2014 sanitary district budget.
Mr. President,
Councilwoman Vines.
I move for final passage of 1340.
Second.
It's a motion by Councilwoman Vines, second by Councilman Spitali. Third and final passage of 1340. Is there any discussion?
Mr. Chairman,
Councilman Markovich.
what is 1340?
Sanitary district.
Is there any discussion?
Mr. Chairman, is
Councilman Markovich.
there somebody here from the sanitary district to answer any and all questions in regards to their budget? Chairman?
Councilman Markovich. No, there isn't anybody here. Actually, them questions were answered Saturday at the budget hearings. Any other discussion? Carmen, roll call vote on 1340.
Markovich.
No.
Spitali.
Yes.
Vines.
Yes.
Kalwinski.
Yes.
Ulaki.
Yes.
Higgs.
Yes.
Emerson.
Yes.
Hinojosa.
Yes.
Opinker.
Yes. Ordinance 1340 passes 8-1.
1341, an ordinance creating a new non-reverting fund, Fund Number 206, entitled the County Economic Development Income Tax Fund.
Mr. President,
Councilman Spitali.
make a motion for final passage of 1341.
Second.
It's a motion by Councilman Spitali, second by Councilwoman Vines for final passage of 1341. Is there any discussion?
Mr. Chairman,
Councilman Markovich.
sponsor of the ordinance, please tell us in the listening audience exactly what is that ordinance?
I'm sorry.
You going to explain 1341?
It's a new line item that's being created because of the county tax for economic development. And it's statewide law, and all the cities are doing it throughout.
Any other discussion? Any other discussion? Carmen, roll call vote.
Markovich?
Yes.
Spitali?
Yes?
Vines?
Yes.
Kalwinski?
Yes.
Ulaki?
Yes.
Higgs?
Yes.
Emerson?
Yes.
Hinojosa?
Yes.
Opinker?
Yes. Ordinance 1341 passes 9-0.
1342, an ordinance creating a new non-reverting fund, Fund Number 210, entitled the Public Safety Local Option Income Tax Fund.
Mr. President,
Councilman Spitali.
a motion for final passage of 1342.
Second.
It's a motion by Councilman Spitali, second by Councilwoman Vines for final passage of 1342. Is there any discussion?
Mr. President,
Councilman
this
Spitali.
also too is a new line item for the county income tax. Again, it's state law, and all the other cities are doing the same thing.
Any other discussion? Carmen, roll call vote on 1342.
Markovich?
Yes.
Spitali?
Yes?
Vines?
Yes.
Kalwinski?
Yes.
Ulaki?
Yes.
Higgs?
Yes.
Emerson?
Yes.
Hinojosa?
Yes.
Opinker?
Yes. Ordinance 1342 passes 9-0. That concludes the introduction of ordinances. Oh, okay, we got one more, 1343?
Okay, got it.
No.
No, that's not coming out. Right, intro's right. Moving on to number 9, introduction of ordinances.
1343, an ordinance fixing the salaries and wages of all city officials and employees of the city of Hammond, Indiana, other than those fixed by statute or by ordinance heretofore enacted, and fixing the effective date thereof.
Mr. President,
Councilman Spitali.
move through first and second reading, refer to council as a whole, with a public hearing set for 10/28/13.
Second.
It's a motion by Councilman Spitali, second by Councilman Emerson. First and second reading referring to 1343 of council as a whole. Public hearing on 10/28/13. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
1344, an ordinance fixing the salaries and wages of all policemen and firemen in the city of Hammond, Indiana, other than those fixed by statute or by ordinance heretofore enacted, and fixing the effective date thereof.
Mr. President,
Councilman Spitali.
move through first and second reading, with a public hearing set for 10/28/13.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Spitali, second by Councilman Higgs. First and second reading referring 1344 to council as a whole. Public hearing set for 10/28/13. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? First and second passes.
1345, an ordinance fixing the salaries for elected city officials for the city of Hammond, Indiana, commencing January 1st, 2014.
Mr. President,
Councilman Spitali.
move through first and second reading, refer to council as a whole.
Second.
It's a motion by Councilman Spitali, second by Councilman Higgs. For first and second reading on ordinance 1335, published on 9/26 and 13 and 1010 of 13 for passage after 1026 of 13. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? First and second passes.
1346, an ordinance authorizing the city controller to transfer funds from one line item to another within the Hammond Police Department's 2013 budget.
Mr. President,
Councilman Hinojosa.
yeah, move for first and second reading, move to council as a whole.
Second.
It's a motion by Councilman Hinojosa, second by Councilman Spitali, first and second on ordinance 1336, and move it to council as a whole. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? First and second passes.
1347, an ordinance authorizing the city controller to transfer funds from one line item to another within various city 2013 budgets.
Mr. President,
Councilman Spitali.
move through first and second reading, refer to council as a whole.
Motion by Councilman Spitali, second by
Second?
Councilman Hinojosa on ordinance, first and second reading on ordinance 1347. Move it to council as a whole. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? First and second passes.
1348, an ordinance amending ordinance 8081 as it relates to project labor agreements in the city of Hammond and Hammond residents on public projects.
Mr. President,
Councilwoman Vines.
first and second reading on 1348.
Second.
It's a motion by Councilwoman Vines, second by Councilman Hinojosa for first and second reading on 1348. Move it into council as a whole. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? First and second passes.
Mr. President,
Councilwoman Vines.
I'd like to suspend the rules for third and final passage of this ordinance.
It's a motion by Councilwoman Vines to suspend the rules. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Spitali. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Rules suspended.
Mr. President,
Councilwoman Vines.
this ordinance is a project labor agreement. What this ordinance is doing, it is requiring that projects done in the city of Hammond will require 25% of their workforce to be Hammond residents. Let me see here, I have all these highlights. If the job does not have 25% of their workforce Hammond residents, the city of Hammond will be within their rights to put a stop order on that job. Refusal of any trade to agree to this provision will void the project labor agreement on that particular project. The Board of Public Works retains the authority to reject all bids on any project, public project, and they will have the authority to enforce compliance. When non-compliance is evident, the project will be awarded to the next lowest bidder. Monitoring of compliance with the local hiring ordinance will be done by a compliance officer with the city of Hammond, who is authorized under the ordinance to enter any public work site in the city of Hammond and request a copy of certified payroll, employee pay records, and employee identification. Mr. President, I move for third and final passage.
It's a motion by Councilwoman Vines, second by Councilman Hinojosa. Any discussion?
Mr. Chairman,
Councilman Markovich.
I'd like to put my name down as a sponsor.
Councilman Markovich would like to put his name down as a sponsor. Any other discussion?
Mr. Chairman,
Councilman Markovich.
in caucus, it was brought up that East Chicago has a 33%. I would like to make a motion, we make ours 33% also, if I so move.
It's a motion by Councilman Markovich to make the percentage of Hammond residents 33%.
Second. Pro Hammond.
Second by Councilman Higgs. Is there any discussion?
Mr. President,
Councilwoman Vines.
not having seen the ordinance that East Chicago has, I think it's irresponsible on our part to increase that percentage. If at some point in time after having reviewed East Chicago's ordinance, I wouldn't have a problem with entertaining that, but not at this time.
Any other discussion?
Mr. Chairman,
Councilman Kowinski.
the East Chicago ordinance was a point system, and how you accrued 33% was a point scoring whereby each individual, based on criteria, can have up to 3 points. And Hammond's system is based on per individual. So it's sort of measuring apples and oranges, and I too think we should stay with what we started with and see how this works, because we're not comparing oranges to oranges. Thank you.
Any other discussion?
Mr. President,
Councilman Higgs.
that's fine and dandy, but the reality of it is we need to see more minorities across the board placed in position throughout the city.
Mr. President,
Councilwoman Vines.
the reality of it is we need to see more Hammond residents to work. It doesn't make any difference what color they are. We've passed resolutions regarding minority equity in the city, and I would like to see more Hammond residents at work.
Any other discussion?
Mr. President,
Councilman Emerson.
you know, just as a little addendum here, whenever 25% is mentioned, it is preceded by at least 25%. So that 30%, the window that was brought up, could conceivably be met there.
Any other discussion?
Mr. Chairman,
Councilman Markovich.
I concur with Councilwoman Vines that we should have more people from Hammond working on these jobs. So I do agree that it should be 33%. We're not talking about point system here or anything. We're just talking about Hammond residents. If you can recall, when this came up 2 or 3 years ago, you know, we wanted 50%. And the unions were threatening to sue us at the time. It was discussed in caucus that the unions are in favor of this, and, you know, why not 33%? If East Chicago can do it, we're a bigger city than East Chicago. We have more projects going on. We have more riverboat money going on. We should be able to put more Hammond residents to work than what East Chicago has going in their respect.
Any other discussion?
Mr. President,
Councilman Hinojosa.
I'd have to say that the building trades already knows that it's 25%. We don't want to surprise somebody with a 33%. I would be in favor of passing it the way it is with 25%, and we could always change it later.
Any other discussion? Carmen, roll call vote on the amended version of 33%.
Markovich.
Yes.
Spitali.
No.
Vines.
No.
Kalwinski.
No.
Yulaki.
No.
Higgs.
Yes.
Emerson.
No.
Hinojosa.
No.
Opinker.
No. The amended version fails 7-2. Carmen, now on 1348 as written.
Markovich.
Yes.
Spitali.
Yes.
Vines.
Yes.
Kalwinski.
Yes.
Yulaki.
Yes.
Higgs.
Yes.
Emerson.
Yes?
Hinojosa.
Yes.
Opinker.
Yes, 1348 passes 9-0.
Mr. President,
Councilwoman Vines.
oh, was that on the amendment? What did we just vote on? I'm confused. I need to return to the regular order of business.
There's a motion to return the regular order of business, second by Councilman Hinojosa. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Back to the regular order of business.
1349, an ordinance reclassifying certain lands in the city of Hammond for zoning purposes and amending ordinance number 8514 for property commonly known as 2843 169th Street, Hammond, Indiana.
Mr. President,
Councilman Hinojosa.
I move for first and second reading of 13-49 and send a letter of intent to consider for 10/28/13.
Second.
It's a motion by Councilman Hinojosa, second by Councilman Higgs for first and second reading on 1349 and send a letter of intent for 10/28. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion granted. That concludes all of our introduction of ordinances. Moving on to resolutions, there are none. Number 11, new and unfinished business.
Mr. President,
Councilman Hinojosa.
Read it. Wait, go ahead, read it.
Carmen?
1329, an ordinance reclassifying certain lands in the city of Hammond for zoning purposes and amending ordinance number 8514 for property commonly known as 4504 Toll Avenue, Hammond.
Mr. Chairman,
Councilman Kowinski.
I move for final reading of 13-29.
Second.
It's a motion by Councilman Kowinski, second by Councilman Spitali. Is there any discussion?
Mr. Chairman,
Councilman Kowinski.
based on the no recommendation by the Plan Commission and no apparent specific site plan for the proposed rezone site, and the earlier approach by the council representing the land trust to withdraw, I move that we deny this motion.
Any other discussion?
Mr. President,
Councilman Higgs.
Councilman Kowinski, are you saying that you're withdrawing the resolution? Are you just, what are you withdrawing?
Mr. Chairman, no, I'm just saying that I am voting against the resolution.
It hasn't came to a vote, so I'm kind of confused as to.
You're asking me what my intent was. My intent will be to vote against approving the intent to consider.
Any other discussion?
Chairman,
Councilman Markovich.
the address and description of this property, and where is it located?
Let you know the address.
4504 Toll.
Just for the record, so we make sure we got the right address and everything and all of that. Let's not be guessing what it is.
Carmen, could you read that address?
The address is 4504 Toll Avenue, Hammond, Indiana.
Thank you, Carmen.
Any other discussion?
And Mr. Chairman, what is the background and what wants to be done there?
Mr. President,
Councilman Hinojosa.
I believe if it changes from R1U to C1, there's nothing stating that what's going to be there for a business, and that's the reason for denying it, that we don't know what kind of business they want to open. They just want to sell it and change it to a C1 when we don't even know what's going to go there. So I also recommend to deny it.
Any other discussion?
Chairman, is there anybody here that owns the property or any lawyers here representing that property? If they
Yeah,
can come-
yes, there is an attorney here.
I would request that they come forth and suspension of rules so they can come forth and give us some information so we know exactly what's going on. I so move.
Second.
It's a motion by Councilman Markovich to suspend the rules, second by Councilman Higgs. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Sky, you could
Surprised they didn't vote against that.
approach the podium.
Certainly. Scott Yaney, appearing on behalf of the petitioner that filed the underlying petition for the Plan Commission. It is true that the Plan Commission did not, took no position on the petition. It's an effort to rezone property at the corner of Gosselin and Toll. I would differ from Mr. Kowinski. There's a very exact site plan that was worked on at some length with Mr. Poland until it met certain specifications. Mr. Poland, who left for the evening, I told him that if I was called to appear, that I would represent to the council that he supports the action of the commission, which was no action. But there was an extensive process before the Plan Commission that was also a joint, initiated in some form by the zoning administrator. We came up with a plan for that property. The first step was to rezone the property before we would even be allowed to introduce a specific use. So no, there was not a specific use. There was a request on our part to designate a specific use. We were told expressly it would not be considered at this stage for rezoning, and that we ought not submit that specific use. That it would be eventually up for consideration as to what use would go there down the road if the rezoning was approved. We thought there was good basis to go forward with it. It became evident, however, at the Plan Commission that the Commission would not support it. I know that Mr. Kowinski has rather strong feelings, and he spoke at the Plan Commission hearing. I don't want to speak for him or speak unfairly about his words, so I'll leave that to him.
Well, Mr. Poland's here now, so if he wants to give his report.
Oh.
Thank you, Mr. Yenny.
Certainly.
Mr. President,
Councilman Higgs?
I had one question for Attorney Yaney in regards to this particular property. The parcel that they're saying that's not zoned properly, and they're trying to rezone it, then there's also supposed to be another vacant lot with some property on there. What is that currently standing there?
To understand, this property has a history. It at one point was zoned commercially. That's why there's a commercial building on that corner. At some point, it was rezoned from commercial to residential, R1U, at which point the previous, I think it was a dry cleaners for a number of years, that use or any commercial use would no longer be allowed on that corner. Across the street, there are commercial uses. Directly to the west, there are commercial uses. The thought was, at least as I understood it, and some consensus, that it made sense to combine this entire lot. These were originally, I think, 3 or 4 separate parcels. In meeting certain requests along the way, we combined that into a single parcel, and with the idea that that would be the best use of the land in that area. Ultimately, the Plan Commission did not support that petition to rezone, however. I think it would have been a good and viable use for that area to clean up the property, whoever ended up, utilizing the property. But unfortunately, the Plan Commission disagreed, and we have reason to think that it won't be successful here this evening going forward. But I understand at least it has been called for final vote, so here I am speaking in favor of it, recognizing that it likely will not be successful this evening.
Mr. Chairman?
Councilman Markovich?
Why wouldn't the Plan Commission go along with this? I mean, did they give any kind of, they didn't give a recommendation, but did they give any reasons why or why not that they shouldn't do it? I mean, I guess it's a boarded up building right now, correct?
It right now is not boarded up. In the past, it had been.
But it's
the
just
boarding
there,
was removed.
There's nothing going on in there, correct?
No, it from my perspective, is a good and viable building in good condition. I know there is, however, there's a petition to demolish the building. That is the subject of litigation. We'll see what happens with that, I suppose, but that, at least I would think that it's a building that could be utilized, but I can't speak for the commission, and I shouldn't.
Mr. President.
Councilman Higgs?
So, Attorney Yang, you represent the property owner, am I correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And their potential use of the property is to do what, in essence?
They had, I guess after the Plan Commission hearing, they recognized that There was not an opportunity to go forward, it appeared. At the time, what they were looking to do, even though we were cautioned not to give specifics in the petition, they were looking at a training facility where they would work with workforce development and training eligible candidates to obtain skills, particularly in the restaurant industry, and to work with people and develop the school.
Mr. President?
Councilman Hayes.
Certainly, Attorney Yaney, I am willing to work with you in certainly finding a location within my district to get that accomplished, because for some reason or another, I feel as though my district has been neglected. So certainly, if you want to meet, I'm open, and there are a number of locations within my district that we can look at.
Anything else for Attorney Yaney?
Yes, Mr. President.
Councilwoman Vananes.
Was that the intention to do training, or is there a contract with someone to do the training?
We needed to, before we could move forward, there were substantial discussions about what the use would be. Once, however, we understand it's a multi-step process. First was Planning Commission. Once it became clear as a result of that meeting that evening that this could not go forward, the interest from the person that was interested dropped away. At least the property owner could no longer support the effort. Now, whether they'll be interested in doing this in another area, I would hope that they would. I was engaged by the property owner, not the company that was interested in bringing
Just
this
curious
up.
if he had a contract with anyone. Alrighty, thank you.
Do I have a contract? No,
No,
I'm an
if
attorney, I represent
he
a
had
client.
a contract with anyone to start up this school training facility, whatever.
No, it would be a legal folly to do so in this environment.
Alrighty, thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Councilman Markovich.
the only thing is, I mean, we've already passed it for somebody in Hessville to get a variance to expand their business because they wanted to add additional 800 square feet. We went along with that. Here we got a piece of property that's sitting vacant, and all they're trying to do is just change the rezoning. I just hope it's not something personal against the owner, that the council as a whole or individual council have something against the owner, that they're stopping this. Because if it's sitting there, nothing's going on, and if it was boarded up at one time, and it's not boarded up, and they're trying to make a go of it, I mean, why would we not work with any individual, whether the workforce wants to come in there? But here we got a property owner that wants to go ahead and develop it, and he's asking for conditions to expand it so he can open it up for additional business. We have too many buildings sitting here vacant and boarded up as it is. So I don't really understand this. Why somebody would be wanting to stop this, and I hope it's not personal, that this council is going that way, or the district councilman is going that way. Because I'm aware, I know where the piece of property is, and it's sitting there, and why we wouldn't allow, to go from whatever it is, C1 to whatever and all of that, so additional businesses can apply to go ahead and put a business. I don't know why this council would stop something like that. And I do know in the past that when things were happening in the past about a liquor store in Hessville and so forth and all of that, because it was an issue between the owner and a district council, we ended up getting sued, and we ended up paying $1 million to settle that thing. And I just don't want to see that again.
Mr. President.
And why the Plan Commission would not even come forth with a recommendation one way or another. I mean, that's what that board is there for, to make a decision, to get all the information, and Mr. Yaney brought probably all that information, to give them all of that, and then why would they sit there and not come up with a recommendation? I mean, if they feel that they should not have a recommendation, then they should just say no. And if they say there should be a recommendation, then they should say yes. But just don't say, we don't have a recommendation. That's the duties of the Plan Commission, to encourage economic development here in the city of Hammond. And when you're not going to do that and not come back with it, I mean, I'm not familiar with the whole deal, other than what Mr. Yaney was saying here, but other than the district councilman says he just doesn't want it, period.
Mr.
But we're
President,
still gonna have a
Mr.
building sitting
President.
there empty.
Mr.
But if
President,
Councilman Higgs.
But if there's people that want to come
Councilman
in there
Mar-
and keep wanting to put another business in there, why should we stop them?
Mr. President, if I may, the reality, I understand your thoughts, Councilman Markovich, and I respect every district councilman in regards to their district. Although people approach me on a regular basis for different issues that affect not just my district, but throughout the city. And I do agree with you, there are vacant properties. There are questions that I still have about some of the vacant properties that can be actually rehabbed and utilized that are being demoed. You know, we put tons of money in demos when we should be trying to attract people to our city, not tear down the homes, because there's no revenue if you keep tearing down homes. And for whatever reason, you know, the Plan Commission, you know, I've been to one or two of their meetings, and, you know, I don't agree with everything they do. One of the members has harassed me forever, but that's neither here or there. The reality of it is, if there's a question that needs to be answered in regards to this particular project, the district councilman obviously feels as he's not comfortable with it. The Plan Commission has not given an opinion of yes or yay or nay. So where do we go as a council? We want to see economic development. I do. Please put this in the paper. For some reason, the things that I'm saying are not getting out to the public, but I need it to be heard. I want economic development. Woodmire needs to be developed. On Columbia Avenue, there's a vacant lot that needs to be cleaned up and something put there. And I want to see economic development within my city, within my district. Whatever we can do to attract people to come, I'm open. And if that means, Attorney Yaney, and I'm willing to do this, we need to find a grant to get a property, a land, a property for you to get this established in my district, I'm 100% in, whatever it takes. And I'm willing to do whatever is necessary. So there's my commitment.
Mr. President,
Councilwoman Vines.
sitting here and listening to all of this, we've had this documentation since August. To imply that there's a personal vendetta against the owner of the property absolutely is an insult to me, it's an insult to the city, it's an insult to the Planning Commission. If anybody had bothered to do any homework, they would have found out that this property has been without water since 2002. There has been numerous work done on this property without city permits. It is currently on the demolition list. I don't know how much evidence one needs that the owner of this property, whoever he is, I don't know who he is circumventing the law here with some of the repairs that have been done. I found this out back in August. Each and every one of us could have found out details about this back in August. And instead, here we are, sitting there making accusations that there's a personal vendetta against the owner. Shame on you.
Anything else for Attorney Yaney?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to have Mr. Poland come to the podium.
Thank you, Mr. Yaney.
Chairman,
Councilman Markovich.
give us a synopsis of what happened at the Plan Commission meeting. I mean, we got a councilwoman here saying now that there's no water or anything. Was that considered during the Plan Commission meeting? Did that have anything to do with whether we rezoned this or anything?
There was a lot of statements that were made at the Plan Commission meeting. I think what it really came down to, with all of the, let's say, competing interests, you know, the pros and the cons that this case had, is that the Plan Commission was really focused on the fact of that the rezone, the subject parcel for the rezone included a commercial building and a residential building, and that once that property once once it's rezoned, the residential building would also be rezoned. And so that would potentially open up commercial uses in a residential structure. It would potentially affect the parking layout that was prepared in that site plan. I can't tell you what was in everybody's mind, but that's what I recall as one of the more important factors as to what led them. I think the fact that the Plan Commission chose the middle option without a recommendation, has some bearing on where their minds were at. Again, I can't speak entirely for them, but clearly there was a lot of pro and con when it came to this case.
Mr. President.
Councilman Higgs.
Bobby, you could probably answer this question in regards to the property not having water. Have they violated, because you sit on the Board of Works and I come to the meetings and maybe some of my colleagues need to attend as well. I know I see Councilwoman Venez there quite a bit, but as it relates to some of the issues that address this property, can you give me an idea of some of the things that were not in compliance?
Mr. President, neither I in my capacity as the controller or as the president of Board of Public Works and Safety had any influence or any involvement in this property, in the petition to rezone, or in the decisions of the Planning Commission. I apologize.
Mr. President.
Councilman Higgs.
Okay, so you're saying that nothing's been brought up at the Board of Works as it relates to this particular property? Because I'm hearing two different things. So I mean, I know you sit there and you hear complaints time and time again. So if there are complaints, I need to know. Or if there have been complaints filed in the previous, I need to know.
Again, Councilman Higgs.
That's saying you have. Thank you. I understand.
All right, I need a motion to go back to regular order of business.
So move.
Second.
No, I need a motion.
Mr. Chair.
Move to
Councilman Kowinski.
To clarify the motion is to deny the petitioner's request.
Okay, I need a motion to go back to regular order of business.
I'm sorry?
I need a motion to go back to the regular order of business.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Kowinski, second by Councilman Spitali to go back to regular order of business. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Back to the regular order of business.
Mr. Chairman,
Councilman Kowinski.
to be clear, my motion is to deny the petitioner's request. Thank you.
Carmen, roll call vote on 1329.
Markovich.
Yes.
Spitali.
No.
Venez.
no.
Kalwinski.
No.
Ulaki.
No.
Higgs.
No.
Emerson.
No.
Hinojosa.
No.
Opinker.
No.
Motion passes.
1329. 8 noes, 1 yes. Any other new or unfinished business?
Oh, yes, Mr. President.
Councilwoman Venez.
The Crime Watch people have been called a bunch of do-gooders. Well, we will not meet again until October 28th because of the holiday on October 14th. And this is just, as I always do at all of the meetings, I read a list of the Crime Watch meetings that are coming up. This is an indication of how people want their neighborhoods to improve, how people want to be involved in their neighborhoods. So please bear with me. The list is rather lengthy. On Tuesday, September 24th, 6:30 p.m., Pulaski Park Neighborhood Group will meet at the American Legion on Goslin. A new group is starting up tomorrow night, Save Our Neighborhood. It will be at the Hammond Public Library. It will begin at 6 p.m. and this is for the Jacob Square neighborhood. On Wednesday, October 2nd, Harrison Park Crime Watch will meet at the VFW on Homan Avenue at 5 p.m. Also on Wednesday, October 2nd, Edison Community Watch will meet at Edison School at 6:30 p.m. On Thursday, October 3rd, Edison Community Watch will go on the road. That will be at the Golden Manor Senior Building on 175th and Columbia. That will be at 6 p.m. Irving Community Watch will meet Monday, October 7th at Irving School. That will be at 5 p.m. That is a bilingual program. There is an interpreter for those Spanish-speaking residents. That's again at 5 p.m. Woodmark Crime Watch will meet on Wednesday, October 9th at the National Guard Armory, beginning at 6 p.m. Whiting Robertsdale Crime Watch will meet on Thursday, October 10th at 6:30 p.m. at Calumet College. East Hammond Pullman Crime Watch will meet Tuesday, October 15th at Ophelia Steen at 6:30 p.m. Lafayette Neighborhood Watch will meet Wednesday, October 16th at Lafayette School at 6:30 p.m. South Hammond Crime Watch will meet Thursday, October 17th at the Hammond Housing Authority building at 7 p.m. Also on that same night is the Hessville Crime Watch. They will meet at the Gene Shepherd Center Thursday, October 17th at 7 p.m. And I do believe that is it. Anyone who is interested in making your neighborhood safe, being involved in your community, please join us at one of those meetings. And that is how change happens. One gesture, one person, one moment at a time. Thank you.
Mr. President,
Councilman Higgs.
make a motion to send a letter to Pat Moore in regards to 5800 block of Howard. There's a dead tree that needs to be cut down, and also to engineering for 5933 Columbia, where there is a sidewalk that's torn up. I so move.
There's a motion on the table to send a letter to Pat Moore and engineering about a tree, what, 5800 block of what?
5800 block of Howard, and then there's the sidewalk is tore up at the 5933 Columbia that needs to be
5800 Howard, 5923 Columbia Avenue on a sidewalk.
Yes.
I have a second.
Second.
Second by Councilman Hinojosa. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Mr.
Letter
President,
granted.
you know, just recently, as we voted on something, that makes me know that there are some things going on within my council. And it amazes me how, you know, how things are taken out of context, and sometimes how things are not looked at quite well. Being a councilman for my third term and just analyzing and looking at things, it just amazed me how the things were brought about as that last vote for this zoning. If my colleagues are not familiar as to which way they voted, and I'm pretty sure they're not.
That will be addressed, Councilman Higgs.
Well, I'm not finished with my discussion. This gives me an opportunity to express how I feel about this. They voted yes. That's what happened.
Mr. Chairman.
So, I still have the floor, Councilman Kowinski. I don't know if it's politics or what's being played in this particular issue, But it amazes me that now, again, I'm just waiting for this to be reopened and watch as it unfolds. Because to me, if you're sincere about doing something, you're gonna know what you're doing and take care of it. So it's just amazing.
Mr. Chairman,
Councilman Kowinski.
a motion to reopen 13-29.
There's a motion on the floor to reopen 1329.
Second.
Second by Councilman Spitali. All those in favor?
Roll call.
Roll call vote, Carmen.
Markovich.
Yes.
Spitali.
Yes.
Vines.
Yes.
Kalwinski.
Yes.
Ulaki.
Yes.
Higgs.
Yes.
Emerson.
Yes.
Hinojosa.
Yes.
Opinker.
Yes. Reopening passes 9-0.
Mr. Chairman,
Councilman Kowinski.
due to some confusion on how we were voting, because the motion I made versus the intent on the agenda rely on different votes. So when I brought out the deny them.
Order, Councilman Higgs.
So when I brought out the deny the petitioner's request, that's what I meant. But in looking at the intent to consider, you could get a little confused. So I'm asking for a revote on 13-29.
Second.
It's a motion by Councilman Kowinski, second by Councilman Spitali on a recount vote. Carmen, roll call vote on a recount.
Whoa, how about some debate here? Discussion. You got to ask the question 3 times, right? You just can't go ahead and, oh, I'm...
Mr. President.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, I apologize.
Mr. President.
To reopen.
I'm sorry.
Thank you, Councilman
We already did
Markovich.
that.
No, it hasn't been reopened yet.
No, the motion to reconsider has been already. We voted on that.
Yes.
So now what are we doing?
Mr. Chairman,
Councilman Kowinski.
a motion to read 1329 for final passage.
Second.
There's a motion to read 1329 for final passage, second by Councilman Spitali. Is there any discussion?
Mr. President.
Councilman Higgs.
You know, I understand there's a point of order, but there's no need to scream and holler. I'm not screaming at you, and I would appreciate it if you're not screaming at me, please. Thank you.
Let's just act professional.
At all times.
So, Mr. Chairman,
Councilman Markovich.
what are we doing here now that once we voted on this thing already? What's going on? Can I get an explanation, please?
Mr. Chairman,
Councilman Kowinski.
yes, I would like a revote, and I would like to change my vote because I got confused on the way I was voting. And I think perhaps others did too, and I want everyone to have that opportunity. Thank you.
Any other discussion?
Mr. Chairman,
Councilman Markovich.
we had probably a 15, 20-minute discussion on why we should allow this to go through so we don't have any more empty buildings, we don't have any more boarded up buildings, so we can allow businesses to come into the city of Hammond and thrive. And this council voted to allow that to happen. And now all of a sudden they're saying they don't want it, or they didn't know what they were voting on. I mean, I was the only one voting in favor of what the Plan Commission or what was originally wanted. I was doing the right thing, and now everybody wants to change their votes. And I'm perplexed and don't know what's going on here or anything.
Mr. Chairman,
And I'm just wondering, for some of them saying, now, I voted the wrong way, or I didn't know what I was doing. I mean, I'm totally dumbfounded here. I mean, I tried to bring out all the information that we could. We didn't have, we brought Brian Poland out. The Plan Commission didn't give us an answer one way or another. They left it up to us. That's why I'm saying the Plan Commission should have gave us a recommendation, either yes or no, and they didn't do it. And we tried to get all the information here, bring it all out, why we should do it, so we can have, so we don't have another empty building sitting there, or it's going to end up being boarded up. But to bring up just because it didn't have water, that has nothing to do with it, you know, because that's not a requirement. I mean, if there's no business going on, or it's not inhabitable, or it's not being inhabited, you don't need the water in there now or anything. But to come back now and say that we want to change our vote, I mean, that smacks, sounds like they're against this individual, whoever owns it. I mean, because we voted on it. And I tried to, tell my colleagues and bring out all the information to get the attorney, Mr. Yaney, to get the Plan Commission, Brian Poland, to give us all the information, but yet they still didn't know how they were voting or what they were doing. Because I voted the right way. Everybody else voted the opposite way because they figured, well, we just better go against Markovich because, he was in favor of it. Well, I wasn't in favor of it. I was doing the right thing, what the recommendation was. But yet everybody felt that because I voted yes, that, hey, we better vote no because otherwise we're going along with Markovich. And that's not a good thing to do because Markovich doesn't know what he's talking about. Well, I guess maybe I did know what I was talking about. You can't keep operating like that. You got to start doing the right thing, what's best for the citizens of Hammond, and not just be voting against Markovich all the time when he brings up something. Because, I do know some things. I do know what's going on. And I don't want to get sued again, like we've been in the past for rezoning of property and everything. And if I'm wrong, if they want to go from R1 to commercial or whatever, I don't know the exact thing in that respect. What's wrong with that? That's a commercial district anyway down Goslin or whatever and all of that. I just don't want to see that it becomes personal against the property owner and we end up getting sued because that cost us over $1 million in the 6th district once before, over a liquor store, because they didn't do the right procedures. And it cost us money over it. And you know what that was about? That was politics. That was against the owner. And we lost that one. And I just don't want to see that again. It happened the way it happened. Nobody followed what they were doing. But the bottom line is, because I voted yes, everybody voted no, and you screwed up. Now you're trying to go ahead and correct it because, now we figure what we did was not what we wanted to do because we wanted to stick it to that property owner or whatever. So I'm just going on the record, that's what it's all about. Don't say that they were misinformed. You had all the information you needed to make an intelligent decision.
Mr. President.
So that's what it was about.
Councilman Higgs.
Observing and watching some of the things that go on, I am totally amazed.
So am I.
Totally amazed at some of the things that go on. The concern should be the citizens of this great city. That's who I was elected to serve, and I try to do that to the best of my ability. But some of the things that go on amazes me. Now, Councilman Markovich seems to feel as though it's directed towards him. It may be. I don't know. I can't speak for no one but myself. But the reality of it is, every elected official should be working towards the betterment of this great city.
Mr. Chairman.
That should be happening, bottom line. Moving forward. Making sure Hammond moves forward. No one particular district should have more than the other one. It shouldn't be more interest focused on one particular area than other. The interest should be the entire city, what we were elected to do, represent the people and for the people.
Mr. Chairman.
This amazes me.
Councilman Kowinski.
This isn't the first time council has gotten confused on yay or nay. It's happened. It happens every year on one or two occasions, and it happened again. So let me go through the arguments since people seem to think that there's more to this than just the arguments. Let me remind everybody that Indiana state law sets the criteria that need to be considered when approving or denying a zoning petition. It's the law. So the proposal to reclassify 4504 Toll Avenue from R1U Urban Single Family Residential District to C1 Local Commercial District, Plan Commission Case CP-04 4504 Toll. The subject property, and by the way, this is a response after 1st and 2nd District Councilmen conferred about what to do with this property and the rezoning issue. The subject property is currently zoned R-1U Urban Single Family Residential District. The R-1U district continues to the south and east, containing houses generally in compliance with the zoning district. To the west and north is a commercial district, fronting on Homan Avenue or Goslin Street that is zoned C. Now remember, the state has 5 criteria by which to judge a rezoning. So, number 1, the buildings are generally in compliance with their district. Indiana state law identifies 5 criteria to be addressed when considering a zoning petition. The 5 criteria are comprehensive plan, current conditions and character, most desirable use for the property, conservation of property values throughout the area, responsible development, and growth. As a council, we need to analyze each of these criteria, and only these 5 criteria, in order to arrive at a decision on this matter. The first criteria, comprehensive plan. The subject property is located in Planning District 2, North Hammond, in the 2003 North Hammond Neighborhood Plan Amendment to the Comprehensive Land Use Plan. The subject property is located within the South Shore sub-area. The intent of the South Shore sub-area was to recommend for a transit-oriented development in which mixed commercial and residential development centered on the South Shore station to take advantage of the transit work. Commercial development along Homan Avenue and to a lesser extent along Goslin was proposed to be supported and enhanced. The subject parcel was identified as being commercial in nature for the north half and residential for the south half. This is an expansion of the commercial use in that area. In addition, the proposed use does not adhere to transit-centered development found in the land use plan. Lastly, the existing commercial structure has been placed on the City of Hammond demolition list. Expanding a commercial use onto a residential use at this location skirts the neighborhood plan, establishes a bad precedent that would allow the creation of commercial parking issues with the existing residential parking issues that currently exist and are adjacent to these residential properties. Instead of removing an eyesore, we would be expanding its adverse impact on the residential neighbors and further compounding its negative impact on the neighborhood. Thus, for the reasons and factors cited above, the property should not be rezoned. Second criteria, current conditions and character. The subject property contains a very deteriorated commercial building and a 2-unit residential structure. The commercial property is in significant need of repair, having been vacant for a number of years. The commercial structure is currently on the City of Hammond's demolition list. The residential building, which is part of this proposal, is in good condition. The commercial building needs to be demolished as it has been boarded up for a number of years and the owner has shown little interest to salvage it. However, during the board-up period, the condition of this structure has deteriorated to the point that it needs to be demolished and end its adverse impact on the local residential properties in the sub-area. This is not the time to expand the cancer, but to surgically remove it from doing any more damage. Thus, for the reasons and factors cited above, the property should not be rezoned. The third criteria, most desirable use for the property.
We wouldn't be here.
Toll Avenue contains 1 commercial property which has a demolition order placed against it by the City of Hammond, with the remaining properties being residential in nature. The proposed use of the boarded-up commercial property as a computer study facility or whatever the new idea might be has no merit, for it fails to adhere to the in-transit centered development found in the land use plan. An additional concern involves the former commercial parcel being combined with the adjacent residential structure because a lot of the commercial structure is too small to provide for adequate parking. Even though residential parking has been provided for in the site plan, the use of the property as parking for the commercial use is detrimental to the residential uses at the site and adjacent to the site. Parking problems would be created that would be detrimental to the residential character of Toll Avenue. The property is properly zoned as residential. In addition, according to the Indiana Department of Transportation average daily traffic and commercial vehicle interactive maps, most recent data, Goslin Street in Hammond, Indiana, between Sheffield Avenue and Calumet Avenue carries 5,902 automobiles per day and 201 commercial vehicles per day. This is the equivalent of 4 automobiles every minute of each 24-hour day. In addition, a commercial vehicle passes by every 14 minutes. The addition of a study center or whatever new is being proposed would increase the traffic count and thus compound the traffic and parking issues that currently exist on that route. Parking issues will be created in the residential neighborhood that is adjacent to and across the street from that site. Rather than resolving current problems with traffic and parking, this proposal will compound and exacerbate them. Thus, for the reasons and factors cited above, the property should not be rezoned. Fourth criteria, conservation of property values throughout the area. Deteriorated buildings and boarded up buildings have a decided negative impact on property values in the vicinity. The proposed use is not in compliance with the South Shore sub-area plan and of character with the vast majority of residential properties on Toll Avenue. Mixing residential and commercial parking always brings headaches to a neighborhood that can never be properly addressed. Expecting the owner of a commercial enterprise to police the parking of his patrons is an escape to fantasy. The proposed change of zoning would expand the commercial footprint on Toll Avenue and have a negative effect on the value of the existing residential buildings on Toll Avenue. Thus, for the reasons and factors cited above, the property should not be rezoned. The fifth criteria, responsible development and growth. The expansion of the commercial zoning to cover a building constructed for residential purposes is not inappropriate. Care needs to be taken to be sure that adequate buffers are provided for all the existing adjacent residential uses. It is clear this site is being developed in a haphazard manner and not separated in a proper manner as was intended in the C1 zoning regulations. Parking issues come part and parcel with the expansion of a commercial parcel onto a residential parcel of property. As cited above, according to the Indiana Department of Transportation, average daily traffic and commercial vehicle interactive maps, most recent data, Goslin Street in Hammond, Indiana, between Sheffield Avenue and Calumet Avenue carries 5,902 automobiles per day and 201 commercial vehicles per day. This is the equivalent of 4 automobiles every minute of each 24-hour day. In addition, a commercial vehicle passes by every 14 minutes. The addition of a study center, as was proposed at some point, would increase the traffic count and thus compound the traffic and parking issues that currently exist on that route. Parking issues will be created in the residential neighborhood that is adjacent to and across the street from that site. Rather than resolving current problems with traffic and parking, this proposal will compound and exacerbate them, thus thwarting responsible development and growth in that neighborhood. Thus, for the reasons and factors cited above, the property should not be rezoned. To To support my position, I would like to cite from the North Hammond Neighborhood Plan prepared by Turkla, Pettigrew, Allen, and Payne Incorporated, dated February 2003. The report on page 123 states Subarea 4, South Shore. This sub-area consists primarily of residential uses, commercial properties, a few vacant parcels, and the South Shore train station and parking facilities. This depiction is entirely correct in that the first zoning classification mentioned is residential. The area is, in fact, predominantly residential in nature. In the section labeled existing land uses, the report goes on to state most of the commercial uses exist along Homan Avenue, with fewer commercial uses along Goslin Street. The remaining areas of the sub-area are primarily single-family residential dwellings with limited multifamily uses surrounding the South Shore train station area. This section of the report goes on to point out other commercial uses are located on the edges of residential blocks along or near Goslin Street. Many of these uses are in converted residential structures and function with commercial uses on the ground floor and residential uses above. In general, most of the commercial uses in the sub-area are in need of site and building improvements, ranging from minor maintenance issues to a need for total redevelopment. Finally, the report states single-family homes exist within the blocks surrounding the station and adjacent to the commercial uses along the corridors. Within these single-family areas exist a few two-flats and some multifamily buildings. The residential areas, while in need of some improvement, provide opportunity to increase stability within the area. Based upon the points raised in the report, it's clear that the expansion of commercial uses, especially along Goslin Street, will hinder the residential properties in the neighborhood. In some cases, the existing commercial properties are in need of total redevelopment. Total redevelopment can be interpreted as meaning demolition, a reuse consistent with existing neighborhood needs. This is the case before us. The zoning should not be changed from the current residential to commercial, but should remain the same. I believe the information found in North Hammond's neighborhood plan prepared by Turkla, Pettigrew, Allen, and Payne supports this position. In my evaluation of the 5 statutory criteria for evaluating requests for rezoning, which is to deny this petition to rezone.
Mr. President.
So for clarity again, I make a motion to deny the petition to rezone.
Councilman Hinojosa.
I just want to clarify what we voted. The vote was Bob Markovich, yes, and 8 noes. Was this, now, are we asking for another vote because you voted the motion for final passage and it was supposed to be an intent to consider, because it says here intent to consider. So this vote is for the intent to consider.
That's correct.
All right. So was there another vote because you said, somebody said final passage instead of an intent to consider?
No, I just kind of gummed it up because of what it says on intent to consider and what I said as my motion.
Mr. President.
I'm clarifying my motion again because clearly it wasn't clear the way I said it versus what was on the agenda.
Mr. President.
And there are the arguments based on the 5 criteria by state law.
Councilman Higgs.
Actually, we voted to pass it, and that's why we were voting now again, because initially it was passed that they can move forward with this. But Councilman Kowinski was under the impression that he was voting against it. Instead of voting yay, he voted nay.
So was I.
We understand that. That's been spoken already.
Mr. Chairman,
Councilman Markovich.
during our discussion, this report that he has, how come it's not attached to this ordinance? How come it wasn't brought up during the Plan Commission meeting? How come it wasn't brought up during that Plan Commission meeting? It wasn't attached to the ordinance. It wasn't brought up during our subject of discussion and debate. And now it's being brought up that we don't even have all this information. Now, what I'm wondering about is, it went before the Plan Commission, they came back with not a recommendation, and then now he's sitting on all this other information. You didn't pass it all out to all of us, did you?
Mr. Chairman,
Councilman Kowinski.
I attended the Plan Commission meeting, as did the Second District Councilman Ulaki, to make comments about the proposed rezoning. It was after they passed no recommendation that I went to work on what else is there to do regarding how to look at this and how to create an argument. So I spent time with Mr. Ulaki, Councilman Ulaki, to gather information and to go after the 5 criteria that the state law allows you to do in looking at a rezone. So this is the work that I did, and Mr. Ulaki, and I brought it in today. And no, you don't have a copy, but I just read it.
Mr. Chairman,
Councilman Markovich.
why wasn't this information brought to the Plan Commission then for them to consider? If they would have had this information, they probably would have came back with a recommendation either in favor of or against, but not just to not do their job or gather all their information. And I'm looking at their recommendation. We're supplying this to the Hammond City Council. This is dated July 16th without a recommendation. I mean, why would anybody hide or not give all the information all at once to the Plan Commission? They did not receive all the information to make an intelligent decision.
Mr. Chairman.
I mean, this would have made it a lot easier here. We wouldn't have been spending an hour here, because had they had all of that, they would have come back and said, based on the state statute, they're not entitled to it. And we wasted all this time now.
Mr.
You know, and then all of a sudden, you know, now we're coming up with information that wasn't presented to the Plan Commission. It wasn't presented to the City Council. All of us didn't receive this information. None of this is even mentioned in the ordinance. So why would something be presented like this with all the information not even be made available? I mean, what are we hiding here?
Mr.
I
Chairman.
mean, if you don't want the thing,
Councilman Kowinski.
Thank you, sir.
but, you know, put all the information here so we can all make an intelligent, you know, decision on it.
We got your point, Bob.
This formulation of work came after there was no recommendation. And given that there was no recommendation, it made it clear to me that there was work to do if we wanted to see an outcome in a certain direction, because there was no direction given by the Plan Commission. I didn't know whether to anticipate that or not. I don't know what to prepare for the Plan Commission either. So after the Plan Commission's ruling, we did some studying, and we looked at these criteria. And now I'm presenting it, and now I'm asking for a motion to deny the petitioner's request.
Mr. President.
Councilwoman Vines.
Thank you, Councilman Kalwinski, for doing that homework. And thank you for reading it. I didn't have to see it. I know that you do your homework on an issue. I'm a little bit confused. Did we not vote to deny? Is that what our vote was? Then, and Councilman Markovich, you voted yes to deny. I'm wondering what you're arguing here.
I didn't
Whose
vote to
side
deny.
are you on?
I didn't
I mean,
vote to
not
deny.
even a
Your
side.
side's
What
the one-
Order.
What side of the
You're the one
issue
that
are?
said you didn't know what
No,
you
no.
voted on.
Order, Councilman Markovich.
Excuse me.
Councilwoman Vines has the
Excuse
floor.
me, I made a mistake. What side of the issue are you on here? If you voted yes to deny, and now you're arguing that, you know,
I did
somebody...
what the councilman wanted me to do. That's what I did. You
Oh,
guys
but
did
I
it.
thought you
That's
had a
the
mind to
problem.
your own, and we... didn't
As
vote against
president,
you.
discussion is now closed.
Thank you, Mr.
Carmen, roll call vote.
For the motion to deny the petitioner's request.
That's correct. There's a motion to deny the petition. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilwoman Vines. Oh, the motion's for passage. And we have a second from Councilwoman Vines.
Let's be clear, what are we voting on?
Councilman Kelwinski, supported by Councilman Spitali, moved for passage of 1329.
Earlier? And we voted how on that? No.
That was the motion you made when you brought it back out. After you reopened
The first vote we had was
to deny.
to deny the petitioner's request.
Then there was a
That-
vote to reopen.
Okay.
And then there was a motion for passage.
Okay, so right now, can I clarify the motion? The
Yes.
motion is to deny the petitioner's request. That is what's on the table. The motion is to deny the petitioner's request. So a yes vote is to deny the petitioner's request, a no vote is to go along with the petitioner's request. Is that correct?
And that's
Are we all
Councilman
on the same
Spitali
page?
seconded.
Say that one more time.
I want to hear it
Final
from the
pass.
clerk's office to make sure that we're doing this correct.
Well, what I had was a motion for passage. Are,
Okay.
you're saying you're changing that?
No, that's-
I'm taking that back if that's
So now the motion is to deny.
to deny the petitioner's.
Then we need a
request.
second.
A second, please.
Second.
Sure did.
So I think we get a flavor how this can be confusing and why the vote got twisted. Thank you.
Councilman Markovich.
In view of the fact that several councilmen said that they didn't know what they were voting on, and we received new information, I would make a motion that we refer this back to the plan commission with all this new information, send it back to them, let the plan commission do their job, investigate everything, and come back with a recommendation either in favor of or against it. I so move.
Motion by Councilman Markovich. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Hinojosa to send this back to the Planning Commission and have them review it and come back with a recommendation. Carmen, roll call vote on that recommendation.
Discussion. President.
Markovich.
Yes.
Spitali. Vines.
No.
Kalwinski. Ulaki.
No. We've had too much discussion.
Higgs.
I need some clarity as to what we're voting on because I stepped out of the room to use the washroom. So,
Back to the plan commission.
Mr. President, point of order?
Point of order.
Can we get Brian Poland to clarify if we're doing this right or not? Can it go back to the Plan Commission?
I just want to ask for clarification. Was the motion to send it back to the plan commission?
No.
That's what your, Councilman Markovich's motion was?
With a recommendation.
Right, that is, you are not allowed to do it under the state statute. Once the plan commission has sent it to you with the recommendation, you have 90 days to respond. It is now in your hands to make a decision in that 90-day period. And you are at the end of the 90-day period. You're not allowed to send it back to the plan commission.
Thank you, Brian.
Mr. President.
Councilman Higgs.
So in regard, Councilman Kowinski, I have the floor, please. So in regards to that, they need to rescind their motion in second, and yeah, they need to rescind. He needs to rescind it. He walked out. Oh my God. Jesus, give me the strength to deal with all this, Lord.
Well, if it's contrary to state law, the motion is out of order, so.
That's right. All right, Carmen, we're going to vote on the
Motion to deny the petition.
motion to deny the petition. Carmen, roll call vote.
Markovich. Spitali.
Yes.
Vines.
Yes.
Kalwinski.
Yes.
Ulaki.
Yes.
Higgs.
No?
Emerson.
Yes.
Hinojosa.
No.
Opinker.
Yes. Motion passes 7-2, 1 absent. 6-2, 1 absent. Any other new and unfinished business? I believe we need a motion for the next council meeting. Councilman Hinojosa.
Yes, Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to cancel the October 14th council meeting, which is Columbus Day, and City Hall is closed, and have our next meeting on October 28th as planned.
Second.
There's a motion to cancel the next council meeting due to the Columbus Day. City Hall is closed. Motion by Councilman Hinojosa, second by Councilwoman Vines. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion granted. Any other new and unfinished business?
Mr. President,
Councilman Higgs.
I'd like to send a letter to the mayor in regards to having the sidewalk replaced with the 10% share of casino funds at the Hammond Civic Center. I so move.
There's a motion by Councilman Higgs. Do I have a second for a letter?
Second.
Second by Councilman Spitali to send the mayor a letter as far as sidewalk repair at the Hammond Civic Center with 10% of the funds. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion granted. Any other new and unfinished business? New and unfinished business is now closed. Public expression. First speaker of the evening will be Mr. Jerry Wilson, 524 Michigan.
Good evening, everyone. I just want to personally thank you all for the council members that I've spoke to that had an ear to listen to what I had to say. But what I'd like to say right now is I attended that last council meeting at 9 September. 2 days later, I had a knock at my door from Hammond police officers stating that they were heading up a federal investigation. His name was Officer Martinez. So he asked me, could he come into my house? And I know you all don't have oversight over a lot of these things I'm going to say, but you all need to know what's going on in this community since you all are sitting here as council members. This individual officer came in my house. He searched my camera. He searched my computer, stating he was looking for pictures, stating he was heading up an FBI investigation. That was on September the 11th at about 17:05. The next day, I drove to the local FBI office and I asked them, were they looking for me or did they have any interest in me? They didn't comment, but I just walked out the door. I then came back to the Hammond Police Department to make sure this individual, Officer Martinez, was a Hammond police officer. He in fact was. They looked up the log to see that call that he was on while he came to my apartment. What the log states now, we can all look this up. The log stated he was at 524 Michigan Street investigating some missing money orders from the office. So now, how did he end up knocking on my door stating that he was having a federal investigation? Now, the police chief did call me back, and of course, Officer Martinez did deny it. But little does he know, I had my telephone on with another person on the other end listening to the entire conversation. Now, this is not all the proof that I have. Now I'm being evicted from where I live at because the Hammond Police Department has trumped up a police report stating that I tried to do something. That I do have the proof of. And I have the proof that it's an erroneous police report that was made. The only reason I didn't give that to you all is involving my medical history. That I just didn't want my medical history to be public. But this sheet was faxed from the Veterans Administration to the Hammond Police Office. Now, if you look at that sheet that the Hammond Police got, and you look at the police report that was made, somebody messed up, where I can see very easily, just like what I saw here tonight, they messed up. The chief denied it. Officer Martinez said he never did it, but he was on a call from that building. And like I said, he didn't know my telephone was on, and this other person heard the entire conversation of what was going on. Now I'm being evicted because the Hammond Police Department has trumped up a police report stating that I tried to disrupt the community. Now, and I know, like I said, I know you all don't have a lot of oversight on this, and I guess I'm gonna have to let the judge decide this, but I feel my name has been slandered, and I don't appreciate that in my living community because the police report is false. Now, I wouldn't be standing up here saying this if it wasn't. Officer Martinez came up and told me, he said, well, you know, somebody said that you said you got some pictures of somebody's social security card and their driver's license. Around July the 26th, on the floor I live on, which is the 4th floor of my building, it was a room left unlocked. I went in the room, I looked in it. This room stayed unlocked for 3 days. It has 30 boxes in it full of information of people's identity, their social security cards, their driver's license. I took a picture of it, and I'm admitting it. I did take a picture. I took it to the office, and I told the guy named Rodney, I said, here, this stuff, I said, is sensitive information.
Okay, sir, your time's up and your point's been made.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, Scott Yaney.
I was just signing it while I was at the podium.
Okay. Last speaker, Mr. George Stoya.
Yeah, going back, a while back, and inside the caucus, it was brought out that Hammond, I don't know if you enacted it fully tonight, the PLA agreement with Randy, Palmentary, and all that stuff with the 25% Hammond citizens. I didn't hear any, I don't know, I think I might be a little bit ignorant, but I'm a little perplexed that if the city is exposed in any way, shape, or form. I didn't hear any citations to authority or case law. I'm sure Christine vetted it. I hope she did. Simply because East Chicago has done it doesn't mean that it's kosher. But I'm leery because as I understood the mayor when he was speaking to Bob Markovich, that when we were looking for 50%, well, Randy put the hammer down. That was not going to go down. But now that we're going for 25%, Randy's on board. Labor's on board. My question is, what if somebody isn't on board with Randy, and he's a guy who's got 4 kids, he's in the union, and he's turned down for a job because he's right on the borderline of the 25%, and he doesn't get the job, and he sues because you guys are acting under the color of law, and you can do this. I'm just saying, I'm just raising this up as a hypothetical. And I just wondered if this has not been enacted, and you guys still got to do another reading, I sure would feel a whole lot more comfortable. Not that that makes any difference around here, but it would be nice to know that we're not just setting ourselves up as a target, because 25% is 25%. And, you know, there may come a time when somebody breaks with Randy, and, you know, then it's court time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stoya. Need a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
Motion by Councilman Hinojosa, second by Councilwoman Vines. Meeting adjourned.